They sell you the dream of the last frontier, but they don't tell you that the frontier is closed to anyone who actually likes people. I moved to Anchorage in 2024 expecting a community, but what I found was a social graveyard where being friendly is treated like a criminal offense. If you're an extrovert, if you actually enjoy the sound of a human voice or the punchline of a clever joke, stop what you're doing and listen close. Because the Anchorage you see on TV is a curated lie designed to trap you in the coldest, most isolating social vacuum on Earth. Living here is like hitting a brick wall made of ice every single time you open your mouth. But it gets worse when that wall starts talking back through paperwork and accusations. Because it's not just silence you're dealing with, it's suspicion. You try to do something completely normal, like getting to know your coworkers, making small talk, asking basic questions, and suddenly you're walking on a social minefield. Instead of responding like normal people, some will twist your words, misread your intentions, and escalate things behind your back. There's no conversation, no benefit of the doubt, just quiet judgment followed by a report to management like you committed some kind of offense. And that's the part nobody warns you about. You can be minding your business, trying to build connections, and next thing you know, you're being accused of harassment just for being talkative or friendly. Not because you actually did anything wrong, but because you broke an unspoken rule. Don't engage. Don't connect. Don't be human. People are so quick to escalate things here, it's almost unreal. Instead of resolving anything like adults, they jump straight to authority, HR, supervisors, sometimes even higher, over situations that would be handled with a simple conversation anywhere else. It creates this constant pressure where you feel like you have to monitor every word, every tone, every interaction, just to avoid being misunderstood. And if that wasn't enough, even something as harmless as talking to yourself, something people do everywhere to think, process, or stay focused, gets labeled in the worst way. Suddenly you're not just different, you're unstable. People begin to view you with suspicion, as if you pose a potential threat. It's like individuality itself is treated as a red flag. The communication barrier further exacerbates the isolation. Alaska is often described as this diverse, multicultural place, but instead of that diversity creating connection, it can sometimes feel like the opposite. You'll find yourself in situations where simple conversations don't flow, where communication feels strained, and where trying to connect becomes more work than it should be. It's not about where anyone comes from. It's about the reality that even in a place where you expect shared language and basic interaction, you can still feel completely disconnected. You're surrounded by people, but meaningful conversation feels rare, awkward, or cut short. And over time, that just reinforces the feeling that no matter how much effort you put in, you're still on the outside looking in. What makes it even harder is the social gap. Many people keep to themselves to an extreme degree. Conversations are short, interactions are minimal, and openness is rare. So when someone comes in with a more outgoing personality, it doesn't blend, it clashes, hard. Instead of meeting halfway, the environment pushes you to shrink yourself down to almost nothing just to fit in. And all of this hits even harder when you remember what it took just to arrive here. You embarked on an 18 to 19-hour journey for an opportunity that ultimately failed to materialize. You come all that way expecting a fresh start, only to find doors closing before you can even knock. Job freezes and limited openings, especially in Anchorage, leave you stuck in a place where opportunities are scarce and even basic human connection feels out of reach. So you're left in this strange position where you're not just trying to survive professionally, you're trying to survive socially. And in a place where being quiet is the norm and being expressive is treated like a threat, that becomes exhausting fast. And if you think the dating scene will save you, think again. It's a landscape as rugged and unforgiving as the tundra itself. You remain largely unnoticed unless you are a towering 6'7" giant or someone who relies on alcohol to find your personality. You're left navigating a scene where women are chasing a very specific, often toxic look that doesn't include conversation or character. The rumors about the dark cycles of domestic issues and the high stakes of relationships in this state amplify the sense of danger associated with isolation. It is a monotonous, isolating, and dreary existence that ultimately compels you to either converse with your surroundings or succumb to madness. Alaska is a masterpiece to look at, but a nightmare to live in. My advice? Enjoy the photos, but stay exactly where you are. And let's discuss the professionalism here, because it's a joke. If you're an outsider, particularly someone who expresses their opinions openly, it's important to remain vigilant at work. The prejudice is genuine, but it stems from cowardice. Instead of communicating with you like an adult, people here look for any tiny, pathetic reason to report you. They won't address a problem directly. Instead, they'll escalate it to HR or a supervisor in an attempt to undermine your career. It's a culture of snakes, masked by the concept of Alaskan independence. They don't want a coworker. They want a silent ghost who works and never makes them feel uncomfortable by saying hello. It doesn't become better once you clock out either. Trying to meet new people in this city is like trying to draw blood from a stone. Alaskans have this bizarre rule. They do not want to know you unless they need something from you. It's entirely transactional. If you encounter a woman on the street and attempt to be courteous by simply saying hello or nodding, don't anticipate a response. What you're going to get is a smear smirk. You know the one. That judgmental, twisted half smile that says they've already decided you aren't worth their time. It's a level of prejudice that feels personal, and it's constant. You're navigating a sea of people who would rather stare at their shoes than acknowledge your existence. The dating scene? Even worse. Unless you're a 6'7" giant or someone who finds their personality at the bottom of a bottle, you're invisible. You're left navigating a scene where people are chasing a very specific, often toxic look that doesn't include conversation or character. You hear the rumors about the cycles of domestic issues in this state, and when you see how little these people value basic communication and respect, those rumors start to feel like a grim reality. Experiencing Japan, where social harmony and apologies hold real significance, intensifies the culture shock for those who have lived in Anchorage, where independence is merely a mask that hides their forgotten humanity. Alaska is a masterpiece to look at, but a nightmare to live in. It's a boring, gray existence where you're eventually forced to choose between talking to your four walls or losing your mind. If you value your sanity, your career, and your social life, stay exactly where you are. The mountains are lovely, but they won't talk back to you, and neither will the people. Don't make the same mistake I did.